Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday, Memorial Day, actually. Thank you for joining and spending your weekend, or excuse me, your afternoon with me. My name's Tom, that's going to be Taco, and we're getting it off to a much more smooth start than we've already have. We've got two fantastic matchups for you. Later on, we're going to see North America battle it out, but starting the day, Dignitas versus Rival, two of the heavy hitters in Europe, and the two teams that actually wound up in the finals of our spring LAN. Here's all the teams that will be competing, 6 in NA and 6 in EU.
Kind of a competition between all of these teams, and for Europe in particular, this Dignitas Rival set, still a lot of fresh wounds happening here because of what happened at the most recent LAN.
Yeah, everything Dignitas coming off of a tough loss, and right there I want you guys to really memorize this one. It's like the last time you're going to see SK on top. Moving on, watching these teams work together should be very interesting. I think today, as I said, we've got two matchups for you. We have a nice little schedule change here for the summer. Everything going to be happening here in the middle of the week. Monday through Friday is how we're doing things. Monday will be a mix and match of both Europe and North America. Tuesdays will be over in Europe. Wednesdays come back to NA, and then we do it all again Thursday and Friday. Saturday and Sunday, y'all can chill.
Every single day of the week, you get the best of the best. And I mean, I don't think it comes as any surprise because most of you have probably been wanting this already. Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun to really see these teams face it out. Of course, if you weren't watching the spring split, this is going to be a lot of the same format as far as that's concerned. Best of threes, double round robin, nothing really too new there. But a couple of new things happening with our teams. Nobody new here today. Dig, Rival, SSG, and EU United sticking to their guns and playing with the same players, and I think that's a good thing. Dignitas has looked great despite the loss at the LAN, and I think making a roster change now would just be the wrong choice.
And I think Trifecta even should be announcing their roster changes pretty shortly now, so said that they were going to do it at 3 p.m., and we're waiting.
This is the one day I'm not wearing a watch and I look at it on camera. Go me. But don't worry, whenever Trifecta announces that, of course, you'll be able to catch it in the wild, if you will. But we'll be bringing it to the desk as well. It's I'm going to be straight up. I know what the change is, and I think it's a positive one. So we'll get ready to talk about that one. But for now, we're staying over in Europe. Rival have looked really strong. They are your spring split victors, and these five guys have risen from a long way and have become extremely powerful.
And it's no real surprise, or at least I don't think that too many people were that shocked that Rival were able to bring it home in the best of 7. I think the best of 7 is the important part to remember here, because Rival to me bears a lot of similarities to some of the European teams in the past. Most best reference, probably going to have to be Energy. Just the more you play against them, the more difficult it is to beat them. I think that Rival is going to be a team to look out for, especially during this online split, because this has got to be their time where they show that it's not all about the LANs.
Yeah, this team did succeed and look a little bit better in the spring split, but traditionally speaking, the critics of Rival have been saying that they do well on LAN, but they don't always show up on the online portion. Spring was a little bit different, and I expect summer to be continuing in that direction, in large part because of iceicebaby's performance. This guy in the jungle has looked fantastic, earning MVP for the finals.
Don't get me wrong, I think that all of these players have had some great mechanical displays, but I'm mostly looking towards the draft. I think that it's the picks and bans where Rival has really been able to stand out during a lot of their online and in-game, like in studios play, I should say, at the LAN environment. I think that there is a lot to be said about drafting, and most of these games, I don't want to call it predetermined, but the drafts do say a lot.
It's very true. Rival has been successful on playing their own game, and it's actually interesting if you want to look at the story of this team. I think early on they made a name for themselves picking weird stuff and succeeding almost despite it, right? I mean, even they got Opwash solo, right? And then in the middle, I think we saw them kind of go back to more of the, or go to the more traditional route. All right, we succeeded. And now is the final phase where they're blending it all together. They have their own style. They're able to affect what the opponent's doing. Really like what Rival's been bringing, but Dignitas, no slouch themselves.
I think that both of these coaches for these two teams especially take a heavy note of what the other likes to play, and just whoever it is that they're up against. I mean, credit where credit is due. Biggie and Alpha Jackal both respectively put in a lot of time, effort, and really make sure to get their homework done to try and benefit their team as much as possible. And I think we saw a little bit of that at this previous LAN, because Zyrhoes and QvoFred, their synergy was unreal, and I just love the pairings that Dignitas kept trying to run throughout the LAN.
Yeah, watching basically everybody. You can pick a player here, and we can talk about them on the desk for a while. Let's go Zyrhoes. This guy in the mid lane has looked fantastic. The Giannis was nutty.
As he misses the portal opening up.
He misses it, but he finds the unstable. That's the important part.
It's the juke portal. You force with the zoning area, and then you hit him with the unstable. That's completely unavoidable.
I mean,
the portal zoned him to begin with.
You kind of joke, but that's actually the realistic.
No, that does happen from time to time, but I just thought it was a little ironic that we're crediting Zyrhoes for being such a fantastic player, and then that just happened to be the startup point.
Now everybody's gonna remember the infamous Giannis dropship into the clutches of Team Rival, which ultimately lost in the game and arguably lost Dignitas the entire LAN. But it's important to remember that one, I don't have an issue with the entire play. I have an issue with sending the entire team through there. That's a different story. My bigger point is the fact that that one play will be remembered, but everything else this guy did on the Giannis was stupid impressive, dummy nice stuff going on there in the middle lane, and Zyrhoes just looked, before that moment, and even after that, Zyrhoes looked like one of the best players on the battlefield.
And see, I think this is where Dignitas' real battle is about to begin, is because now they have to worry. I mean, they were already coming into this line with the issues of everybody looking at them as the team that choked at last year's Super Regionals. And then they ended up being the team that choked at the Masters LAN. But I think for Dignitas, it's more of a battle trying to shake off a lot of that stereotype that they've kind of been labeled with, or I should call it a label, not so much a stereotype, but they have really been labeled as a team that just comes up short every single time. I feel like that's been a reoccurring theme as well for Trixtank and Qvo in particular. And this summer split, I think, is going to be the last of it from Dignitas. They are a team that is hungry for victory. It is evident in their gameplay. It is evident in their styling that they are always pursuing for more, especially Zyrhoes. We know that guy loves to win.
Well, looking here online, not something that Dignitas has historically struggled with. Rival, though, one of their fiercest competitors. Let's get right into the business. Game number 1 coming at you live here from Skillshot Studios. Team Rival on the left will have that first pick overall, so Dignitas will get to respond to it. And with that in mind, the bans, you expecting anything out of the ordinary?
We saw a lot of craziness, actually, between these two teams. I'm glad that I have this saved, because the bans that we saw last time, Afro, Yanis, Raw, Terra, that was some very similar bans. We saw some leans towards Circuit, Sobek, Athena, but clearly Giannis, Raw, two gods that they don't want to deal with.
One of the questions that I had before you brought up the picks and bans was, is Aphrodite going to survive the offseason? Was she just a LAN-specific pick, or will she be prominent here in the summer split as well?
Afro, to me, feels a lot like the Khepri pick. You know, for a while in like Season 2 and 3, everybody's like, nobody cares about Khepri. Then you show up to a LAN, and suddenly Khepri's the only god being locked in for support. And I think that Aphrodite has some of those similarities, although with Odin being a ban choice here by Dignitas, it kind of alludes to the possibilities of a healer composition. Pressure's on for Rival pretty much, since Circuit's out of the picture too, to go for their first pick selection. And it's going to be that newly buffed Guan Yu.
Yeah, Guan Yu, very, very strong. If you're just joining us, the two biggest changes that you need to know is that Guan's passive no longer really leaves in the middle of a fight, so everything gets boosted as long as he's still in combat. And he has a cleave on his basic attack progression, so he's a little bit more adept in lane. Shibalanke also had some recent changes, buffed by way of the passive. No longer do you have to get a kill, you just have to get 1,000 player damage, which is very simple. So he basically stacks his passive before 10 minutes. That alongside the Athena, Dignitas should have a very strong duo lane. Mid lane choice for Rival, Discord.
I want to see a lot of ranged AoE damage coming through for Rival now that Dignitas have confirmed the Xbalanque. I think that Discordia and Ratatoskr are very strong gods to pair alongside of this Guan Yu. Really pitches the idea here that Rival are looking for that team burst composition from a distance. That's the important part. And I say that because you don't want to let the Xbalanque free stack that passive. You only need 1,000 damage in order to get 1 tick of it. And so as a result, I think that that's going to give Dig a huge favoring towards their dual lane side, because most players at a higher level of play are not going to want to get involved with that Xbalanque. You don't want to give him the free branching bola stack damage. And so because of that, it kind of forces the enemy duo to play from a distance. And if you have that kind of zoning controlling duo, that's where we see all the buff invades starting to happen anyway. And
certainly true that pressure can lead surprises. Terra will be the choice for Dignitas to round out their first half of the draft. Very powerful in her own right. Dignitas paying attention to vote here and going to ban out the Hunter. No Rom just yet. Rival on the clock right now. They've got the opportunity to ban out a jungler if Athena doesn't wind up in the jungle, which I don't think she will. And they've got the opportunity to ban out a mid laner if Athena doesn't go in the middle lane, which I don't think she will.
I think that Rom was a super smart ban choice here by Dignitas, not even just because a lot of players have been leaning towards him, but because when he goes up into the Astral Barrage, he can still see through the darkest night. So you don't want to have an issue of Vote just ulting every single time Xbalanque pops his ultimate, because then you have Vote able to pretty much still shot call a team fight and let his team know what's happening. And the best thing you can have in comms, for the Xbalanque reason why it's considered one of the best ults, is killing comms.
Yeah, it just completely shuts everything off. You have to retreat because you don't know if the enemy is surging forward or not. So, talking some Knights, very, very strong there. Team fight jungler taken away by Rival. No Hun Batsinator for Dignitas. We saw QvoFred do great on pretty much any god he touched, but the Hun Bat's certainly a part of that. And the Artemis also banned out, so Dignitas making sure that Vote won't have some of the late game options.
Kind of surprised that they don't go for the Nemesis ban though instead. I mean, that was another guy that we saw a lot out of, and Robin's still on the table too.
Neath middle lane for Team Dignitas. Gotta say, I really like this choice, but it's interesting because there's been a large conversation about the relative metas. North America playing double Hunter frequently, and Europe playing the Mage in that middle lane. And a lot of people were sitting there saying the double Hunter is there for early pressure, but how important is that early pressure? And the question that we asked on Esports Weekly was it the meta or was it the gameplay? And as we see Neath mid selected here, it's actually interesting because Neath is perhaps the #1 or #2 most mage-like Hunter. So I don't even know if that really remains the conversation.
I mean, we've got Neath, we've got Khepri now from Rival. A whole lot of bamboozling going on here in this picks and ban stage. I think that this Neath pick is exclusive to this draft style, and I say that because you've got the global presence from Athena and the Habwa locked in for Qvo on what I'm assuming is going to be Habwa jungle. This is the kind of draft that you want to try and execute the Habwa jungle in. You have a ton of team fight control because you got the Darkest Night, you have Neat's global ultimate, you have the Athena able to pop in with the Habwa, provide some of those reduced damage mitigation and all that good stuff, which is exactly what a Habwa needs in order to survive.
This is a really clean draft from Team Dignitas. I am worried a little bit about the Khepri. Khepri kind of shuts down what Hebo wants to do a lot, which is just burst people. Khepri can save the life. But then Hebo kills everybody else after the fact. Really like this Dignitas draft, but I think that's to be expected out of me. I'm a big fan of what Zyrhoes can do in the middle lane with the Neath and jungle Hebo, certainly my style. Where are you sitting? I'm
not sold either direction just yet because I can see the pros and cons of both of these drafts. I do think that Rivals is probably... I'm going to give the edge to Rival here purely because of that Guan Yu and his sustain during team fights and the consideration that Rival's draft is a much more forgiving draft if their execution isn't perfect.
That's certainly an interesting way to look at it. Can't say I disagree. Both teams very, very fit for game #1. Let's get right to it. Bring us the game, please, and thank you.
Thank you, Tom and Taco. Finch and Aggro here. We're going to be looking at Dignitas up against Rival, the Masters Finals run back. I mean, what more could you ask for here in week 1? And Ryan, it kind of feels like Rival, they kind of want to have like a long drawn-out fight up against more of the burst coming from Dig.
Yeah, I mean, it's burst in heavy doses. I mean, the Hebo jungle, I think, fits that really, really well. And I like this idea from Dignitas to go for that exact opposite
idea of how to play a team fight. Like you said, Rival wants the long, drawn-out ones. I mean, Discordia has cooldowns that are pretty low whenever she gets into that cloud and then can use multiple of them. You want that Guan Yu heal to be successful. You want to get multiple iterations of Rising Dawn off from Khepri. These are important to Rival's team fight. Dignitas wants to end it like that, like really quickly, like Thanos quickly in these team fights. But they also have the ability to apply anti-heal very well. Neath is a great character with Brawler's Beat Stick, and I think they've itemized well into gods that are picked well into gods that can itemize for that anti-heal.
And you talked a little bit about how about this composition that Dignitas put together for themselves. We do have the poll here, so go ahead and vote in Mixer Chat for who you think you'll win. And we were talking about the double Hunter comp. I mean, this Neath, it kind of feels almost like a cheat on that, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It's like you get the auto attacks, but very ability based. You still get kind of a mage feel from this Neath anyway.
For sure. I mean, I think Mage Neath has been really undervalued so far here in Season 5. The map's bigger. That means global ultimates are even stronger. That Neath ultimate, I mean, you put Mage's Blessing, Transcendence, you're already 20% CDR.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of power. And so it's hitting really hard. Then you go Boots Crusher after that. You're half-healthing someone with World Weaver, even Soul Laners in the early game because of the penetration from Crusher.
Yeah.
I think this is a great pick. It synergizes beautifully with Athena as well because you aren't DRing your root off of the Athenaton like most other CCs. I think there's a great comp from Dig.
Yeah, I'm really into Dignitas comp as we are just about ready to move into game one between these two squads. Dignitas going up against Team Rival, and they've got two of the top priority Guardians, I feel like, on Dignitas' squad as well. Variety going to be taking the Athena to the soul lane. Trixtank going to be piloting the Terra. I mean, the team fight that Team Dignitas going to be putting together, it's gross.
It's really, really good. There's CC, there's peel, there's setup, there's everything you could ever ask for, and then the damage that'll come from the Arkkyl and from QvoFred. Those are two of the best late-game damage dealers in the entire game, so I think this is a great draft, from Dignitas. Overall, Rival's claim to winning this game, the way that they are going to win, is through the CC that they have, because they've got excellent CC chain potential between knock up into Abduct, into stun, into Deathwalker stun, Strife. There's great CC for Rival, and that's the way that they'll beat Dignitas. It's isolating individual targets and bringing them down before their burst will be able to save them.
And that's what's going to be difficult, because I agree that that's Rival's way to win it, but Dignitas are kind of good at stopping even that, right? Between the ultimate from Zyrhoes in the mid lane, Variety suddenly being there with the defender of Olympus, it's tough to try and find a way to make it work, because it feels like they're going to be so reliant on Iceice having a big initiation with his ultimate, right? And sort of setting up everything else for the rest of the team. I mean, if defender of Olympus is there to slow it down, I mean, Dig just seemed to be in a good spot.
Look at QvoFred actually going for Warlock Staff to start us off. Really, well, I should say Warlock's one. Has a potential to go into a multitude of different things. Could be an Ethereal Staff, could be a Gem of Isolation or something like that, but we can all be honest with each other. It's likely going to be a Warlock Staff. Cannot say I'm a fan of that in the jungle. It's just too inconsistent for your farm to get consistent stacks early on.
Already forced to use the beads as QvoFred, as the
Wlfy.
Strife was there, nearly caused even more problems for Qvo, who had just used the beads instead. Wlfy going to get knocked up a little bit into the air and have to back up. But you mentioned this Warlock for QvoFred. I mean, what is the plan? Where is he? Is he that worried about the stacks then, if that's the idea?
I think he is. I mean, he's got to be if you're prioritizing it this early on. We've seen Cherio do it on the Hebo jungle before as well. I still think that Bancroft's talent is the way to go.
Sure.
You are dying or the enemy is dying when you're playing Hebo, and I think that building to that, even at a competitive level, there's some merit to.
Alreready, though, we're seeing the meditation come out.
Two of
That's
them.
the selection here for iceicebaby, as you mentioned. Yeah, two. Looks like even one there for Deathwalker. So they are very much all in, it feels like, on this, sustaining themselves up throughout the team fights and giving themselves a little bit of early value here in lane.
But this just makes the anti-heal from Dignitas that much better, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes.
There's no way that they weren't going to itemize into anti-heal anyways, but now it makes it that much stronger. Maybe it does force Dignitas to rush it earlier than they would have liked. Like I said, Zyrhoes probably wants to go Transcendence, Boots, Crusher, then Brawlers. Now we'll probably need to go Brawlers third right after Boots. So a slight annoyance. Maybe you force QvoFred into going Divine Ruin where he would rather build for Burst overall.
Right.
Sure, unfortunate, but that's two Relic slots that will become a lot less useful whenever Dignitas reaches not even full build, but mid build. I just find it interesting that we saw little to no meditation at Smite Masters. Meditation didn't see a change from between now and then. And did it really go from not good enough to pick up at all to pick up 2 right away.
Well, already the action is on between Dignitas as they continue to aggress. Force the shell out in the dual lane. QvoFred going to fight over on the solo side in the jungle as well, going aggressive.
Nice taunt.
Forced to try and retreat. Variety doing a great job peeling for his jungler and able to just barely get Qvo out of there.
Really, really well played there by Variety. He steps back to make sure that his cone will reach both ends of Deathwalker and iceicebaby and peels them away from QvoFred. I loved Ice's mentality. He's been dashing in consistently so far.
Get the backflip out of Zyrhoes, though. That's going to set up the rest of the damage from Ice.
No mana.
Keeps him alive, but enough from Wlfy to put him down. First blood goes over to Team Rival.
There's just that aggressiveness from iceicebaby. That's the difference maker thus far for Team Rival, and this is what you want to see out of your Ratatoskr, is playing it heavily aggressively in the early game. Not only because Rat is just good at this part of the game, he's got good base stats, it does good damage, it's that you can build that acorn from base. iceicebaby doesn't have to return to base to finish off his entire acorn and be able to provide that additional burst of mobility, damage, sustain even, that it gives him. This is an excellent recognition of what iceicebaby wants to do with this character, and then executing on it as well.
And just a continuation of his land performance was excellent, wasn't it? I mean, he was,
Really was
the one that I believe got the MVP. I mean, I think he's part of what kept him in it early on in that set as well. And Ice continuing that here, affecting the jungle with QvoFred, coming in and finding the somewhat vulnerable Neath. That backflip is quite readable, and then following up on that one as well. So just a continuation of what Ice has been doing all split long.
And that's a really good sign for Team Rival, because Rival as a whole, usually pretty consistent. I would say iceicebaby struggles the most from consistency issues, but man, when he's up, when he's playing well, this team feels unbeatable because he is so good when he gets on a roll. This man pushes leads better than just about anybody in the SPL.
He's so strong at it. I mean, I believe there's a time when Ice was considered one of the liabilities here on the squad. I think no one would say that here today at this point. I mean, he's certainly one of the stronger points for this team and continuing to do it here on the Ratatoskr so far. They do have that one kill. They actually have a decent lead for themselves in the gold department as well. About 1,500 gold and 1,400 experience already. We're only 5 minutes into this contest, Ryan.
Not a whole lot of invades on either side. It's just been consistently pushing waves underneath the tower. I mean, Vote has been on the tower line all game long, and that's kind of what you expect against the Xbalanque. Neath has been underneath the tower most of the game. Athena's been under tower most of the game. That adds up across all 3 lanes to be losing consistent minion gold to the tower. Not as bad as it used to be, not as punishing as losing all of that gold, but it still doesn't feel very good to get 3 gold a creep instead of your usual, 15 or so.
Now, the red buff did just fall off Vote, so I'm thinking that they hadn't at least successfully invaded 1 red buff as Trixtank gets aggressed on the mid lane. Now they want to try and be here for the spawn of the second one, which Arkkyl has already rotated over to. He's forced to retreat. They're going to continue this aggression, but he's dropping down the ultimate to try and slow them down.
Ice already got eaten by that World Weaver, he got hit by it, but it looks like the invade was successful once again. No, maybe not actually. Doesn't get picked up by Dignitas, so it looks like it did work out, but no one from Rival has picked up that red buff. Doubt they'll be able to, but it's more about the golden experience that they stripped away than the actual buff itself.
Yeah, at this point, you really are just trying to, as you said, build up that lead. That's part of where it's coming from. They've also been doing a good job forcing back some of the members of Team Dignitas. Like QvoFred's had a bit of a hard time staying in the jungle the same way that iceice has because of all the aggression that they've been able to put onto him early on. They forced his beads and he was chilling in the jungle earlier as well. Rival has done an excellent job, even without getting a whole bunch of kills or stealing a whole bunch of big objectives, of kind of just controlling the map with their pressure.
Deathwalker and Variety just kind of holding on to each other right now in the solo lane. This is what you expect, even with Athena Guan Yu. Both of these are later game characters. Neither wants to really try and solo the other necessarily. If Variety throws away a taunt to get his reach passive, then Deathwalker might go aggressive because his Tallow Assault will go uninterrupted. They really need help, like, say, from iceicebaby.
Who's up in the air, and he's looking for Variety. Does land the knock-up stun right there to follow up, and the protection shred is coming out. Actually channels Defender of Olympus, but that just means he's locked in place. Ice 1-0-1 finds the kill.
Only way Variety survives there if he starts channeling Defender of Olympus before he gets knocked up from iceicebaby. Once that knockup lands, Variety's dead to rights because of the prot shred from both the Flurry of Acorns, the 2 from iceicebaby, and the Tallow Assault. So Variety could have all the prots in the world between Ratatoskr and Guan Yu. Your prots aren't going to last for long, and that's why I think this Khepri is a great pick, because if I'm Rival, I'm just trying to bait in Trixtank or Variety in the late game and then isolate them, use both my prot shred abilities on them, and just let Vote go to town, man, because he will be doing true damage in the late game unless Dignitas' tanks are dedicated to physical defense only. And in that case, then Wlfy gets to go to town.
Well, Rival's here for the spawn of this red buff the second time. Once again, Arkkyl drops the ultimate and up onto the horse's vote as he tries to make his retreat. But this could be trouble for Kall as he gets taken down. QvoFred finds the first kill for Team Dignitas and couldn't go onto a better person. The jungle Hebo finds it.
That's big. Nice root there from Zyrhoes. Wlfy down below half HP does have his ultimate available as Arkkyl and Qvo still pushing forward as Rival tries to secure their own red, but will not be able to do so. Variety's even here now. Votes Aegis won't get him out of that taunt and won't get him out of that damage. Trixtank will find the second kill for Dig.
Well, that's a quick answer back from Team Dignitas if I've ever seen one. 2 kills for them now, 1 on the QvoFred, 1 on a Trixtank as well, and importantly, able to try and slow down this dual lane of Team Rival. Kallis and Vote both end up taking a spill. They really needed that answer back, Ryan, but I kind of want to go back to the gank onto Variety. I told you I was worried about Iceice's initiation because Variety could Defender of Olympus in. He kind of can't Defender of Olympus in onto himself, right? So it kind of makes, making him the target kind of makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's true. It makes some sense, but Variety's still able to get involved in that left-hand side despite that early gank from iceicebaby. And you're right, that's the perfect opportunity for Dignitas to strike back because they get their red buff invade of their own off at the same time as finding that kill onto Vote, as well as Arkkyl just gaining even more damage. It's not about the kills anymore for Xbalanque. It's now that passive stacks based on damage as Qvo meets up with Ice in the jungle. Ice forces the beads and does big damage to Qvo.
And now has to go into the ultimate. That's weird because Qvo, or usually Hebos like those fights in the jungle, but instead Ice maybe gets a little bit of the better of him. Has to retreat though when reinforcements arrive. That is going to be the Through the Cosmos now on cooldown for Ice. A big ultimate for Team Rival they won't have for a little while longer.
Zyrhoes still hasn't finished off that Transcendence quite yet in the mid lane. It's pretty long to have not finished off that item when you start off with tier 2 of it so far. And now Zyrhoes is probably worried about getting his farm. Usually Zyrhoes is very farm oriented,
yes,
and that's why these red buff invades have been very impactful for Team Rival because it does put Zyrhoes a bit behind. Now he's going to get the red buff, but he's still got to triple split it in order to get there, so he's not getting as much golden experience as he really needs. Being down 2 levels as a Neath at this point in the game feels really, really bad. This is where you go, man, I wish I picked any other character than Neath right now because you just feel so much less impactful than you normally would as Neath. Neath wants to get ahead, use those base stats, use the ability to just puke out damage with your abilities really, really easily. When you're already behind, you got to backflip a lot more. Backflip's very readable. It's easy for Ice and Wlfy to punish you for it. It is a scary spot for Zyrhoes.
And this is tough too because you got to think that with the double hunter you want to try and get off to lead and try and grab some pressure in the mid lane, but instead Zyrhoes, with the pressure from Ice I feel like has been a big part of it, is falling behind up against Wlfy where normally you would hope the 1v1 be going your favor. It's not been the case. He does finally go back. He is able to get that Transcendence online though, but only now starting the stacking 11 minutes into the game.
I hate this Soul Reaver first item, Finch. We've seen it a little bit so far, and I gotta say, I really, really dislike it.
I'm a little surprised. It's just more damage. Don't you just want to do damage?
Of course you do, but it's also a huge gold investment.
It's a lot.
And the passive is based on percent HP. Your HP, you're not doing that much damage because the enemy team doesn't have that much HP to take. It's low health pools in the early game. This is an expensive item where Wlfy, if he goes Mage's Blessing into even Book of Thoth or something like that, or starts rushing the Book of Thoth, that initial burst won't do as much, but his overall kit will do just as much, if not more, without that same level of gold investment. I don't like Soul Reaver this early on.
Defender of Olympus was forced out of Variety, and Ice goes aggressive once they recognize that because they want to steal away this blue buff. Ultimate committed to try and make it happen. Variety's here for the taunt into the 2-man stun from Trixtank, but no other follow-up is around. So in the end, they'll just fall back, unable to steal away the buff.
Well, Variety got it with a reach, I believe, in between the taunt there. So sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and a nice little timing window by Variety gets him his buff and keeps Deathwalker from getting too far ahead in that lane. And just like we haven't seen a whole lot of meditation overall so far this split, haven't seen a lot of Genji's guards, particularly this early, but I do think I like this one a lot more. This is an underbot item right now. It's cheap, gives everything Deathwalker needs. Health, magical protection, CDR, some mana, and that passive, which is going to get him his cooldowns back even faster. This helps him get his heal up 3 seconds faster every 30 seconds. That's a crazy boost to his cooldowns. I think this is a great pickup here for Deathwalker.
And one of the good advantages of having the magical jungler is you can often kind of force the solo laner to split and try and decide what protections they want to build. It's actually not going to be the case this time because he has a magical solo laner as well. So Deathwalker can very comfortably go here into the Genji's guard. Even Ice going to like to pull up the Arkkyl for himself. So itemizing I think very efficiently into some magic defense here, our team rival, to try and limit some of what the solo jungle for Dig want to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now it makes it that much easier for Deathwalker to itemize into that Genji's guard. Then backs and finishes off a full Mid-Guardian mail to try and deal with the double hunters. That's the downside of going magical jungler, magical soul laner. You're like, yeah, I get to just build magical defense in the early game and not worry about it. But then the mid-late game comes, you got 2 hunters to deal with. Deathwalker keeping his eyes on the entire, the big picture, if you will, instead of just his lane.
And now Team Rival keeping their eyes on the Gold Fury. Arkkyl, Trixtank, Zyrhoes are all here. This won't go down for free. Defender of Olympus is coming out, so Variety is also here, but so is Deathwalker, so it's not going to be completely out of balance. Half health on the Gold Fury, and Arkkyl at half health has to retreat.
Ultimates are up for Rival here, but Variety's already used his. Kalas looking to pull someone in. Deathwalker resets the Gold Fury alongside Team Dignitas, and Dig say thank you very much, and we'll take that.
iceicebaby, though, is going to be looking for Arkkyl, who used the Rising Jaguar, but not far enough. Ice takes him down. Trixtank going to be the next one up on the chopping block as Deathwalker looks for him, but a great taunt comes out. Variety saving the life there of his teammate, able to help only lose 1 life for now, but Quvo's got to be careful in mid.
Quvo uses the ultimate to get out of range and has to use the beads in response to the nice solar flare there from Kalas that would have rooted him underneath the tower. Variety get a dash forward, finds 2, chases the beads out from Vote, but Trixtank's really low on the backside here, and Rival's utilizing that to keep pushing.
Man, this would have been a good fight, but too low was Dig to go all in. Tier 1 tower now is still in a lot of trouble. Guan Yu heals are coming through, and they want to continue to siege this Tier 1. Variety and Zyrhoes are here. QvoFred has kind of left. I think they've given up on it, and Rival, even though they lose the Gold Fury, they take something else back off the back of it.
I mean, what is the pick that everyone is scared to give Rival? It's Ra. Partially because Wlfy's really sick at Ra and hits every snipe, it feels like, but also because Rival plays so well with Sustain. And we're seeing that again here with this Guan Yu pick. Different role, different god, same result. Rival forced this Gold Fury, and look at what they're getting off the back of this, Finch. They lose gold. They get 1 kill, they get beads out of Quvo, they get mid T1, Pyromancer, right T1. Now, in response to Dignitas pushing mid, they're going for tier 2.
Well, that's because, yeah, you're right. Everyone's showing themselves on the map. Rival, no, there's no one really here aside from Quvo and Variety to try and defend it. They do have the tower, but they're not going through it as quickly as you might expect. About half health now, but Deathwalker's gone in. QvoFred stunned down on the backside. They've dropped the ultimate down on top of Variety, who has to retreat. Arkkyl puts down his old ultimate, and Trixtank is incredibly low, has to get out of there. Mounted Archery not enough, but Heavenly Banner gets it done.
Arkkyl still on the left-hand side. Tier 2 goes down for Team Rival, and this is just using your sustain to its fullest. I mean, Rival got so much off the back of that. They only lose a couple tier 1 towers. Not a big deal. They got a couple tier 1 towers for themselves and a tier 2 in that engagement. And usually with Dignitas' draft, I mean, they have 3 globals. You would think that that would favor them to have Dignitas or to have Rival try and force around the map different objectives. But Rival keep the members that need to be there. Variety can't ult in because he's already on that right-hand side. Quvo's beads were still down. This is just rough right now for Dignitas.
Aegis has to come out from Zyrhoes in the mid lane as Wlfy and Ice continue to chase them down, but you're absolutely correct. Dignitas certainly reeling. After a good fight, they used the ultimate from Arkkyl perfectly right when the Gold Fury got low and forced the disengage, and that's how they were able to go in and steal it for themselves. But I mean, as you mentioned, Rival just recognized, hey, they are all incredibly low. They used everything. They got it back. Let's just use our sustain and take the whole rest of the map.
That they did, and now you're looking at big power spikes. Wlfy finished off his Divine Ruin. He actually had it, I believe, before that last engagement, was using it in order to stretch on some of the sustain from Neath on the Unravel, from Trixtank on the Terra ultimate, and of course the lifesteal from Arkkyl. But now you've got a Crusher for iceicebaby. That's going to boost his damage really, really high. This is just a tough spot to be in for Team Dignitas. Now, there is some good news. Brawler's Beatstick is done for Zyrhoes. Soul Reaver is done for QvoFred. Those are really important power items right now for both of these characters to keep in mind.
And look where Arkyl's going in his build path. He's itemizing into crit. We talked about the meditation earlier. I mean, Deathwalker doesn't have thorns. He might be building into high demand line later on, but right now that crit from Arkkyl, if he can get it online, certainly looks like it'll be in full force.
This is what Arkkyl loves to do. He did it all during the Masters Land. That third item, Rage, really waterfalls nicely if you can start to get multiple team fights going your way.
Right.
Kind of like a Hide of the Urchin, where you feel kind of bad when you first purchase it, but man, one team fight and you get 2 kills, you feel really good about that purchase right away, and it just keeps getting better throughout the entire game. This is going to set Arkkyl up to have some big red numbers on the opposition. I mean, he's already getting a lot of extra power from that passive.
Right.
You add that into crit, man, it's going to be scary.
Now, Deathwalker had to use the ultimate that was 4-star, but Arkkyl might be launched.
Look at that!
Ice gets taken down underneath the tower by Arkkyl. Those crits were huge. Aegis keeps him alive, but Vote dashes in aggressively and finishes him off. Wlfy on the backside needs a little bit of help. Aegis keeps him standing. Now, Trix in between 3 members and forced to retreat, but QvoFred came in on the back, cleans up Wlfy. 2 for 1 so far for Dig. Make it 3.
Man, the dive on Arkkyl is not worth it now for Team Rival. They get 3 for 1, and it might be even worse because Kalas just got taunted in. Sprint is good from Team Dignitas. Stun as well on a Kalas. Root is there, and there he goes. Another kill for Team Dignitas, and it comes back to that crit. Coming out of Arkkyl, turned that around really quickly.
Yeah, I can't describe a more Dignitas play than this. They're down, everything's looking rough, and Arkkyl makes a big play over in duo. They get a full-on deicide wipe with Zyrhoes able to track down Deathwalker, and suddenly they are right back in this game. Gold Fury is at their feet. Now, if they want to grab that item for themselves as well, there's still tier 2 towers on the map. What a huge fight for them. It starts with Arkkyl, though, underneath the tier 1.
Well, what were we saying before this game even started? It was sustain versus burst. Crit is the best burst you're going to get as a hunter, and that's what ended up paying off for Team Dignitas. iceicebaby didn't have the sustain there with him. That Void Shield wasn't done yet, so he didn't have that amount of physical defense to deal with the Blanke, and that was an extra 2k damage for Arkkyl in the midst of that team fight, get him even closer to finishing off that passive. This is now Team Dignitas a spot where they feel pretty good about where they are. Where they are, because Obsidian Shard is now done for QvoFred as well. Arkyl's working towards what should be an Executioner. Zyrhoes working towards his Titan's Bane. For as scary as it looked a moment ago, because of the sustain from Rival, Dig's got to feel pretty good. That being said, they've got to feel pretty good, but they're still only even, and they still have to find a way to beat a full 5-on-5 team fight. That was Rival being overly aggressive underneath that tier 2, not truly grouping up and using their sustain to their advantage.
And when you're truly even against a sustained comp, you're really kind of behind. That's what those comps are able to do so well. We'll see what Dignitas' plan is to maybe try and break that up. Who's the target if you're Dig to try and blow up early on to limit some of this sustain?
Could be Kalas, honestly, because you don't want him to save whoever you're trying to go on.
Sure, Vote's already in trouble, forced to use that mounted archery trying to escape, and Deathwalker's going to be right there to follow up. Vote has already fallen. QvoFred is the one that finds the last hit, and Team Dignitas, they did blow someone up, but it was the Hunter this time. Now they taunt in Kalas into the strife. He's rooted, and there's tons of damage. Has to use Scarab Blessed on himself, and he does survive for the moment.
Nice Rising Dawn, but it doesn't matter. It won't save iceicebaby. Deathwalker doesn't have his ultimate, and the CC from Dignitas is proving to be a little bit too much. Vote gets hit by the World Weaver, the global ultimates. Arkyl's ultimate stops Kalas from being able to track where Vote is running to, where he needs to go to try and save his Hunter's life. That's the power of the global ultimates coming out of these Hunters from Team Dignitas.
And not just that, but 2 of the strongest Guardians that you could possibly want are rearing their heads right now. The stuns and the roots from Trixtank, the taunts in from Variety are setting up for that inevitable late game damage that is Habwa and Blanke. At a certain point, they're just going to do more damage than you can take.
And we're already getting pretty close to that, right? I mean, 8k damage for Arkkyl, that means he's getting a free 30 power in the build because of the passive. Now he's got the Executioner as well. If you thought those numbers weren't high enough on the crits, wait until this man finishes a Deathbringer. It's going to get scary.
And now it's Team Dignitas who are positioning around the Fire Giant, trying to establish vision. There still looks like a couple wards here on Rival's side, so they can see a little bit, but the actual pit itself is quite dark. Wlfy gets taunted back in, and the damage is too fast. QvoFred finds the last hit, and Wlfy's already out. 5v4 Dig, now positioned around the Fire Giant with a good advantage.
And you can just feel the pain for Kalas there. He just stares at Wlfy like, I'm sorry, dude. I wish I could do anything for you. I don't have an ultimate. Rising Dawn's not going to save you here.
iceicebaby sounds like he's up in the air, and he is. He's going to be looking for a target to land on, but Dig, very disciplined, just retreat. And now that's iceicebaby's ultimate wasted. The only value he gets is that Dignitas had to drop the Fire Giant. They got to make some value come from that.
Variety, first one in. This is how Dignitas loves to play. Whether it's Sobek or Athena, they're just playing around Variety setup.
It's just too much control between these two. Arkkyl does get brought down to about half health. He's forced to back off for just a moment. Still no beads available for QvoFred for another 30 seconds as well. If they can find a way past this very gross front line to him, it might be a little bit easier to grab him.
Gold Fury going to be respawning soon enough, and wouldn't be surprised if that's where Rival and Dig go to next, because it's still pretty early in the game. We're less than 23 minutes in, so Gold is still very relevant right now. If one team gets a little bit too fixated on that Fire Giant, don't be surprised if the other goes for Gold.
Half health tier 2, but the target is going to be Collis on the backside. Deathwalker already is using the cavalry charge, not even for the stun, but for the retreat. Variety goes in, dash, taunt, and the damage there to follow up, but Scarab's Blessing keeps Deathwalker alive for the moment. Arkkyl, though, continuing to surge forward with Variety there in tow. Now the taunt is on the Callus, the walls, the damage, he's done.
Again, it's all off that Athena taunt. Arkkyl gets a kill for himself, but it's just this Guardian CC chain.
It's too good.
Taunt into walls, and you never escape after that. Spirit Robe has got to be on the mind of Team Rival, but honestly, Finch, I don't even know if that would be enough. That excellent damage mitigation that it provides, Rival could need more than that.
And it looks like you might have the right idea, because Deathwalker starts building into what might be like the high-demand line, but then stops. Maybe he's going into the Magai's Cloak. Maybe he's going into the Spirit's Robe to try and do something to slow down these taunts, because even Collis and Deathwalker, the tankier characters for Rival, under that much control, that much lockdown, you can't be tanky enough.
I mean, you've got Titan's Bane and Brawler's Beatstick for Zyrhoes, Executioner for Arkkyl. That'll enhance Zyrhoes' damage as well. QvoFred's got an Obsidian Shard. You just can't afford to get taunted right now, but Variety's just been the spearhead every single time, and it forces stuff like this. Ice hears the dash go off and immediately has to use the ultimate in response.
Now, a question I do want to ask you before this fight starts up, I mean, is there a relic you'd want besides Meditation right now on Deathwalker?
I don't know that Thorns really helps him, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Maybe not from this. He's already incredibly low. Shells enough to keep him alive for the moment, but he has to go right up onto the horse. Arkyl's ultimate has already been committed, and Variety comes in with a two-man tall, but actually gets a good bit of damage sent back his way. Collis already out of there. Arkyl's the one that finds that last hit, and Dignitas can again regroup around the FG.
You know what Rival really needs right now is a Chiron or a Geb. Someone who can take care of these Athena taunts. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't go for one of those selections. The last pick, Khepri, seemed a little bit wonky to me. We haven't seen Khepri in a while, and this is kind of why. Once he uses that Scarab's Blessing, he doesn't really do enough to save his teammates after that, which is crazy to think about because Rising Dawn's an insane ability.
Wlfy hits a two-man strike, but I'm starting to think it might all be for Nas. He gets controlled perfectly by that wall, not even clapping it, just limiting his movement. And now with the Fire Giant around all of Team Dignitas, they can start sieging these Tier 2 towers. There's plenty of gold on the map for them to grab. But Ryan, I mean, I'm right there with you. I've had a conversation with Alpha Jack where he goes, yeah, we saw the Athena, so we went right into the Chiron. It's something that they do a lot. They're very comfortable with, or even a Geb in that slot. But instead, it's going to be the Khepri, and I just don't think they've gotten enough out of it.
Not quite yet. I mean, the one nice save on a Deathwalker is fine and dandy, and that was nice. And then immediately what happens after that? Kalas gets butchered right after that because he doesn't have anything to protect himself. This Athena has just been the end-all, be-all, it's felt like,
yes,
in this series between these two teams. Whether it's Kalas piloting it and doing great work, or in this game it's Variety. I mean, Athena has been on display between these two, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I just don't know that you can allow Dignitas to have both of them, the Athena and the Terra.
Yeah.
Because as strong as the taunts are, they're into even more control, if you can possibly imagine. So things just get worse and worse for Team Rival. Not to say this game is entirely over yet. It is about a 6,000 gold lead in the Fire Giant for Dignitas, but Rival has certainly pulled off some miracle defenses before, so this one not out of reach. They're just going to find a way to make this sustain work a little bit better. The burst has just been coming too quickly for them.
That's a great point, though, about these defensive options for Team Rival. They seem to be one of, if not the hardest teams to actually put down. They often like to hang around and make you really, really work for it. And it's not something you want if you're Team Dignitas after that LAN performance where that came back to haunt you in a big way in one of the games of that final series. But keep in mind, Dig crushed Rival in the semifinals beforehand, or
That's
the
right.
quarterfinals, whatever it was. I believe it was semis on the winner side of the bracket. Dignitas 3-0'd him, so you know that the potential is there for Team Dignitas.
Now, Dignitas considering whether they want to push into this Phoenix on the left-hand side. Looks like they are going to fall back. They only have 2 Tier 2 towers of their own standing, so they have a chance to come back and grab this Tier 2 in mid if they'd like it, and fully retreat before they go back and look for this next Fire Giant. But you talk about Rival's ability to sort of hang around. I gotta wonder how much of that is that team atmosphere. It feels like they don't often get rattled, right? These guys all work so well together, so if they're down in the trenches, I mean, I gotta feel like that's gotta be a part of it, along with obviously their mechanical skill.
I completely agree. I mean, these guys are friends, and that isn't always the case for a lot of different teams. That's not necessarily an inherent negative for them, but it's definitely a positive whenever you are very close with everyone on your team. The team environment gets a lot better. You can have tough games and be very far behind and not, be very angry with each other all the time. You can afford to, just relax a little bit, have a laugh. You just playing Smite with your friends is a lot more relaxing than, these high-pressure, insane situations.
Well, Tier 2 tower in mid is in trouble already. Ice has been forced through the Cosmos, but Rival are not going to give up on this Tier 2 for free. And that's going to be difficult for them if they want to try and defend it. They do eventually fall back, but it cost them already in the form of Ice's ultimate. He was caught off in the jungle on the right-hand side by Qvo. All the Tier 2 towers are down now. Phoenix is exposed, and Dig can start sieging those once they're grouped.
QvoFred's full build Hebo, so that's a rough look for iceicebaby. Learned that lesson pretty quickly in that right side jungle. And Chile's not going to be enough to save you against a full build Hebo.
No, he's going to completely have forgotten about that once the Soul Reaver Soul Gem procs come through and remove you from the map. So Ice forced into that for sure. But at this point, I mean, they've got to do better at trying to find a way to keep eyes on where QvoFred is, that they don't get too destroyed by his damage. 6-0-4. He has not been punished yet on this Hiabwa at all. He had that chance earlier where he was saved by a great taunt from Variety. I mean, like way back toward the beginning of the game. But other than that, I feel like he's been relatively safe.
He really has been, and has been putting out plenty of damage, as has Wlfy, who just finished off his ethereal staff. But those are basically been retreating strifes, just trying to catch Team Dignitas as they're running forward, chasing down Team Rival. Wlfy has not been able to blow up the Athena upon entrance, anything like that. And that's really what I think Rival need, is some answer to this Athena. And check out Variety's build. Sells the boots, goes for a Witchblade to give himself some, still has movement speed between the Witchblade and the Winged Blade. It also gives him 200 health, some CDR. The attack speed he doesn't care about, but also reduces the attack speed of the Ratatosker, of the Hachiman. That's relevant against those two for sure.
Fire Giant very likely going to be going the way of Team Dignitas. Not just likely, but almost guaranteed. No one from Rival is going to be trying to slow this one down as they grab it one more time. And Phoenixes are going to be the name of the game for Team Dignitas once this is over. Ice and Variety kind of just boxing it out. Collis forces the ultimate, caught out by QvoFred here in the jungle. Yet again, Qvo forcing out big cooldowns. Now the rest of Team Dignitas is here. 3-man taunt pulls them right back into the damage.
Deathwalker in that front line still has to use the shell. iceicebaby finds two with the knockup though. Arkkyl gets bursted down by Wlfy. Golden apple hits on a QvoFred. No Aegis for him. He's toast. A double kill for Wlfy.
And we just talked about how resilient this Team Rival team are, and they're showing it here now. Trixtank is the one that could potentially be in trouble next, and he is. Ice puts him down. 3 members of Dig go down for free. 5 members of Rival still standing.
They're going to do it. They actually did. I think they could end here, Finch. I think that Rival's actually going to be able to steal this game. I mean, 30 seconds on Arkkyl, just march right up mid. Only 1 tower's left on the left-hand side. This Titan isn't going to be that tanky, and Zyrhoes isn't really the burst damage that you need at this point in the game to follow up off a Theaton. If I'm Rival, I think I'm going for the end.
And Dignitas has got to be kicking themselves. I mean, they take that fight on the Gold Fury over very little, it feels like. Yes, they got the Scarab's Blessing out, but what was really the best case scenario there? Now they're going underneath the Phoenix. The taunt comes back in for Variety, who's just barely still alive. They are slowing down this push from Rival, who are being very measured. They're not going to go any further. They're just going to take the Phoenix.
Variety and Zyrhoes do enough to stop Rival from ending that game. If Rival was able to just burst down that Phoenix and immediately go for the Titan, I think they do end up winning that game. But Arkkyl was able to respawn in time, courtesy of that delay tactic from Zyrhoes and Variety.
Now, do you think Variety is in there using that Witchblade passive? Less damage on the Phoenix, maybe? Yeah, I mean, it's working out for him here at this point. It looks like Pyromancer is going to be going here to Team Rival, and that is indeed going to be the case. Variety is here and ready to dash in, but there's no follow-up, so be careful. He's not going to go in just yet.
Man, that's got to be the moment, though, where Dignitas all kind of look at each other. Well, they're not on land, so they figuratively look at each other and go, Did that really just happen again? Okay, we didn't lose. All right, cool. But you got to keep that. You got to keep your head cool. Got to keep your head in the game as if that didn't happen and that you still have this big lead, because Dignitas does have a pretty big lead, but now it's Rival who has the Phoenix down, and gold is becoming less and less relevant in this game. XP is already irrelevant in this game, so the lead that Dignitas had doesn't really exist anymore. It's only in the form of a couple 6 items for Kalas, for Wlfy finishing off a Chronos Pendant or a Rod of Tahuti, Deathwalker finishing off his Mantle of Discord. And once Rival get those items, this game is actually in their favor because they're the ones with the Phoenix down on Dignitas' side.
That was a fight where, as we mentioned, finally Wlfy can do some damage that wasn't him retreating away from the rest of the fight. I mean, was that what the big difference was? How did that go so handily for Rival?
Well, Trixtank went in a little bit earlier than I think the rest of Dignitas really ready for him to do so. But really, it was, I just think Wlfy had an unbelievable team fight. He just did so much damage, bursts down Arkkyl really quickly, then throws the golden apple, finds QvoFred. That does half of Qvo's HP. Remember, Qvo went Blink and B. There's no Aegis to stop the bulk of that Discordia Golden Apple damage that comes off detonation. So that's just a really great team fight from Wlfy that's set out by iceicebaby baiting Dignitas into a weird spot.
Yeah, Dignitas just went chasing kills, I feel like, a little bit in the jungle when there was no real need for them to do that. Instead, come down and take these sieges that have been going fine for you so far. At this point, though, they end up getting a little bit punished by Rival in the jungle, and now waiting on Fire Giant to come back up next time to grab that and re-siege. And now that you've won a couple fights, now that you got some more gold underneath yourself, I mean, I think Rival can come out and defend this Fire Giant.
Agreed. They've got a real good opportunity to defend Fire Giant, maybe even get it for themselves. Just out of that ward vision, because not only is ward vision important at this stage because you want to be able to burst down a Fire Giant without the enemy team having that information, but also because of Neath ult, because Zyrhoes can pick you off a ward pretty easily with that World Weaver at this stage of the game, do a quarter of your health easily with a fully charged ult. You got to be able to make sure that you're safe from that.
Rival are fully grouped over here on the duo side. They're going to take the tier 2. I don't know if they're going to push any further than this, but everyone is here. So they just recognize that digging around, they take the tier 2 tower for themselves, get a little bit of extra gold, and try and make that Titan that much easier to take down later on. Again, though, moving into these narrow jungle corridors where the last fight went so well, Trixtank is able to find some stuns. Looks like no more follow-up than that.
That's I love this idea from Rival because they don't really give anything up on the right side. They still have opportunities to go over there and gain vision control. Dignitas has it for the moment. They also have the ward vision in inventory, at least the advantage there. If Rival all backs up right now, that could be a big mistake, though, because Fire Giant just now spawned, and Kalas just went back to base.
And now, if Dignitas go right towards it right away, they might have a chance to get this started, and they do have plenty of damage coming out between Arkkyl and Zyrhoes. Rival, it looks like, are not going to move into this area. They're just going to give it up and try and make one more strong defense. And remember now, their mid-Phoenix is back up on the map. That's going to be getting a little bit healthier as well. Dignitas weather that one little scare that they had and are regrouping in a strong position.
It can be difficult to fight into a Habwa in the jungle in situations like that. It's harder to keep track of him. He can surprise you with the blink a little bit more easily than he can when sitting underneath a Phoenix or in a lane fight towards your Phoenix. I still don't know that I love the call to give up that Fire Giant from Rival. I mean, their sustain is best used in longer drawn-out engagements, and usually Phoenix sieges are over one way or another very quickly, and I'm not sure that sustain is quite as relevant there, but either way, Rival
especially on the defending side, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if Rival can make good use of it here, Ryan, as Team Dignitas are ready to make their regroup. This is, again, though, where we got to talk about some of these relic differences between them. Deathwalker and Ice both are going to be the ones using that meditation to try and make these defenses happen, as Rival just kind of grouping around the Phoenixes at this point, not even going to go out for further vision, letting Dignitas come to them.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'd rather have just about anything than meditation at this point in the game. I mean, yeah, it gets stronger as the game goes on because it does scale off your level, but the anti-heal is strong between the Divine Ruin, the Brawler's Beat Stick, the Pestilence. You've got a plenty of anti-heal on Team Dignitas. It's going to be affecting all those on those meditations, and the Cursed Ankh as well, yeah.
That's going to be on Trixtank. We'll see how well he'll be able to get that applied. His taunt into the walls lands on Deathwalker. No immediate damage as Strife kind of forces Team Dignitas back. The same combo that worked so well against the sort of staggered Rival in the jungle, not doing so well, at least right now, here in lane.
Variety poked out, though, and this is how you want to fight up against Team Dignitas. Variety's been the initiator every single time. Get him weak, where if he does initiate, it's probably going to cost him his life.
Keeping it pushed up is QvoFred in the mid lane to try and have some minions there for them to rotate right over to, pull someone over from Team Rival. Not going to be able to get the Magai's cloak this time. Is going to be Trixtank. He was trying to get on the Collis there, or they get it with the arrow, so he'll be a slightly easier target for them.
Now, normally when you see Assassin split pushing, there's some real threat of them getting the mid Phoenix if one member of the enemy team overcommits to defending the left or right side. Not really the case for a Hebo. Doesn't have that tower damage that really makes you that worried. I wouldn't mind seeing iceicebaby not really take this 1v1. What's the point? You're never going to win the poke trade, and Qvo's going to take forever to actually get the Phoenix itself.
Collis gets pulled over as well, and now Variety goes in onto Wlfy, brings him down low, but Collis is here now to try and help out. Arkyl's ultimate is down as well. The Apple is going through the team fight and lands onto Variety, who moves forward, so it does not spread, but Ice lands on the backside, knocks up Zyrhoes, stuns him as well, brings him low, but not quite able to finish it. Qvo takes him down.
Deathwalker trying to do it, but he can't do it either. Arkkyl going to stop that from happening right in its tracks.
Wow.
Zyrhoes survives with the slightest amount of HP. Ice couldn't finish the 2 animation that would have gotten the kill. Deathwalker couldn't find the dash in to get the kill either. And Finch, neither of the meditations used in that team fight.
But I mean, I gotta wonder, is Zyrhoes really the one to die over anyway on the Team Dignitas comp? As Variety dashes in, does use the taunt now to pull in Collis, but he had the Magai's cloak, so he'll be okay. Phoenix on left-hand side goes down. Team Dignitas in the 5v3 have all the power play. Another taunt comes out. Collis nowhere to go this time, and a bunch of damage comes in. Wlfy's the first one that falls. Scare's blessing is on both, but Collis has no one there to help him. Team Rival looks like they might be dropping here in game 1. Team Dignitas wavered for a moment, but only a moment, and they take down Rival.
Impressive from Team Dignitas. The team composition worked beautifully together. 8-1-6 for QvoFred on that Habwa jungle. And it was just all about that Athena for me. I mean,
yes.
that setup from Variety was just consistent. It was impossible to deal with. How about the cooldown reduction on that left-hand side? I mean, he taunts him in, they get the Phoenix, and there was another taunt ready right after that. I don't think Collas nor Vote were really ready for it.
No, and how could you be? I mean, you talked about how strong the taunt and the Terra was in that game, but you also have all the damage you could possibly want in waiting in the wings for you, right? With the Shiva Lanke and the Habwa, so good at blowing up those targets that they have a moment's window.
And Arkkyl played so well. This is the first time we've seen Shiva Lanke with the new passive, with the buffs and all that kind of stuff. And man, did Arkkyl deliver on it. I mean, the big play, defending himself underneath the tier 1 tower dive.
Right.
The late game damage, saving Zyrhoes there. Dignitas has a harder time ending. They probably still end, but they have a harder time with it if Zyrhoes falls. Arkkyl made sure that didn't happen.
Well, who was your MVP there in Game 1 on Team Dignitas? I would not fault you if you wanted to vote for Variety. In fact, I might fault you if you voted for someone else.
Qvo's a pretty good option, but
That's
I
fair.
think Variety is the MVP there for me.
Well, QvoFred also looked excellent. Certainly, we'll let you all decide there in Mixer Chat, and we'll let the desk break down that game.
Jungle Hebo, what's up, baby? Coming in off the top, wonderful stuff again from QvoFred, kind of what we're used to. And as the boys said, Variety also with a great showing, but this one was back and forth. Really, really fun. I think we were tied up at 88,000 gold. That was the latest time that I really caught my eye on, and that was just a pleasure to watch.
It looked as though Rival were really about to turn things around if they had a successful late-game team fight around that Gold Fury pit. I think that the successful one-by-one picks by Rival were part of the main reason why they were able to make that shove. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough time for those guys to try and actually close out the game. As you can see, things were pretty tied up all around, though. Only real difference being the structure of damage. And I think that kind of just goes to show how much actual sustain Rival did have in their composition. They just were not able to consistently find the picks that they needed to in order to continue pressuring out Dignitas.
One of the big things before we leave this graphic is assists. I want you guys to internalize that. 19 for Rival, 53 for Team Dignitas. And I think that really tells the story here that Dignitas just grouped up a little bit better. We're helping each other a little bit more than the Rival guys. And I think that really drove the game home.
I mean, even the last left-hand Phoenix Siege for Dignitas that funneled into that victory was a great showing of how those teams were actually working together, because Arkkyl saving the life of Zyrhoes there, I think completely changes the outcome of this game, because Otherwise, that ends up being an unsuccessful Phoenix push. Rival had the advantage because they're actually the ones in the 5v4 and not the other way around. And we saw what happened when Rival was given the advantage in a team fighting situation. They run it down mid, take out the middle Phoenix, but aren't left with enough time to actually siege the Titan. Okay, you know, you missed your chance, but just look for it on the next turnaround. And I think that Rival choosing to not contest the Fire Giant is because of the fact that they felt so confident in their defense against the siege. I think that they probably would have been able to hold on to it, but they got a little bit too bloodthirsty, tried to chase out Zyrhoes and look to confirm that kill, because if you are able to confirm it, you probably got to turn it around and look to end the game with that mid Phoenix missing. It's just too little and ended up coming up short.